Kowalski. I'm from Mount Desert Island, Maine, but I live in Japan, and my book title is Mind Virus. This book came about in response to the new atheist movement that's been very vocal in recent years, and the idea that if we could just get rid of religions, all the world's problems would be solved. Richard Dawkins once said that religion was like the smallpox virus, but harder to eradicate. So all of that got me to thinking, suppose someone took that idea and carried it to its extreme. What made me passionate about writing was the chance to use my imagination. I always loved reading, and I always loved being able to dream up other worlds and other characters. And what makes me passionate about writing about contemporary issues is that I find that on many issues, this being one of them, people are so entrenched in their opinions that you can argue and argue and no one will shift an inch from their position. The only way, I find, to make people look at an issue from a different point of view is through a story. Most of the writers who really inspired me to get to work on this project actually did so by negative example. Like, you can find hundreds of books, television programs, movies that frame the world in terms of the good capitalist West versus the evil Muslims. And I thought, is there a way to turn that on its head? Is there a way to frame the conflict in terms of those who divide the world into good and evil versus the ones who are looking for unity? And the only writer I can think of at the moment who has actually done something like that is Jeffrey Small. I read his book, The Breath of God, and I thought, this is the book I've been waiting for all my life. So my protagonist is a teacher like me. He has also spent most of his life abroad like me, which means that he can find his way just about anywhere in the world, but he never really feels completely at home anywhere, and I am the same way. So in terms of being a military interrogator, that's one experience that I don't share with him, but something else that I do share, have always shared, is feeling in my own life the conflict between those who try to explore the world's religions, look for common ground among them, explore the gifts that all of them can bring to the world, versus those who feel my way is the only way, everyone else is going to hell. So for me, the wonderful thing about a story is, at least if the writer is any good, there's never only one message in it. Every reader finds the message that he or she needs to find in it. So the message in my book is really up to the reader, but one thing that I do hope people will take away from it is that regardless of what religious faith you have or don't have, the fanaticism that leads to violence can be found anywhere, and at the same time, the will to reach across the lines that divide us, to work for the good of the entire human family, can also be found anywhere. So every writer is told, write what you know. Lee Child once said that's the worst advice you could give any writer. Like, in terms of his own character, Jack Reacher, there are maybe only about 5 people in the world who have experienced anything like what he has. So he said, don't write what you know, write what you feel. And what I was feeling, for example, in terms of military interrogation, is that what you see in the media, like on 24, is very different from the reality. So I read everything I could get my hands on. I had my work read by as many people as I could who have actually served in the military. I researched until I was reasonably comfortable. I'm sure that I've still made some mistakes, but in my efforts to create the anti-Jack Bauer, I feel that I've done as well as I can. I write when a story comes to me that just simply will not let me rest until I tell it. And of course, in the course of setting down this story, there are times when I completely run into a wall, where the well completely runs dry. I sit down after everyone else in my house is asleep and the words just don't come. For times like that, I have a quote hanging above my desk from Madeleine L'Engle that says, "Inspiration usually comes during work rather than before it." So sometimes I feel that if I have to force myself to write, everything that I write is crap. And then I come back to it in another day and I find that that crap has actually fertilized the ground enough to let some good new ideas grow. So yes, even if you feel that everything that you write is crap, then go ahead and write crap and then see what grows. Am I allowed to say crap?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if this work takes off, there is a sequel in the works. I'm planning to take my hero to my adopted homeland of Japan on what's supposed to be a very peaceful Zen retreat, but of course ends up with his having to prevent war from breaking out all over Northeast Asia. There's never any rest for an international man of mystery. I found out about the Adventure Writers competition through the writersrelief.com database, and I was on the fence about entering at first. I thought, my work is not really an adventure novel in the vein of Clive Cussler. There's no buried treasure, no undiscovered lands, no sea battles, no submarines. But a political thriller of the kind that I've written does fall within the purview of the contest, so I decided to go ahead and enter, and I'm very glad I did. I've gotten many times my money's worth out of it already. And to any of my friends who might be watching in Japan, 応援してくれてありがとうございます。これからも頑張ります。When I got the email that said that I was a finalist, oh, wait a minute, let me try that again. Yeah. Because, you know, Peter, the way you phrased the email, I don't know whether you did this on purpose, but I read it and I was like, oh. Huh?
I did. I definitely did it on purpose. I wrote the rejections first.
Yes.
Then I said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if they started the same way? And it's like, loved your book. It was very personalized. Loved your book. Loved the title. Loved the concept. Really fantastic. Unfortunately, only 3 people can become finalists. And that's how I ended the first paragraph. Then it says, fortunately, you were one of them.
Nice.
So
Yes.
it was just like, you fucking lost.
So, did James say anything about that?
No.
Then I'm going to.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.